What's up folks, Mike here at When Watches and welcome to the video. In today's video we're going to be taking a quick look at another Seiko diver watch from the Seiko Prospex line. This is the Seiko King Turtle, which is a fairly recent Seiko Prospex release. And when I saw this watch, it's one that I just absolutely had to get. Now I've never owned a Seiko Turtle before, but when I saw this one I thought, it says King Turtle, let's see if it really is, and I got this and I'm not disappointed at all. But just as a quick disclaimer before I carry on with the rest of the video, if you hear any chirping or screaming in the background, that's my pet parrot, which is in the background. And she always loves to get all of the attention. So if you do hear any chirping or screaming, that's where that's coming from. So don't mind her. She just likes to be the center of attention. But onwards with the video. Today we're going to be looking at this Seiko King Turtle, and we're going to touch on some of the things that make this different from every other turtle. But just before that, we're going to take a quick look at the packaging, which is fairly standard, generic Seiko packaging. Comes in a cardboard box, and then inside you have your manual and your guarantee, and the cushion on the inside, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing exciting about the box. So let's move on from that. So the Seiko King Turtle, well, the Seiko Turtle in general, is a well-known and famous dive watch from Seiko for being an affordable but high quality watch. But the Seiko King Turtle differs in a few ways, and I'm going to quickly touch on them before I move on in depth to each separate part. So one of the first things that is different about this Seiko King Turtle is the dial design has been given a somewhat different dial design, where it's actually patterned. The next thing that is different is the glass is actually made from sapphire and includes a lozenge shaped sapphire date magnifier. And then after that, the next thing that they changed is the bezel insert is no longer aluminium, it's actually a ceramic bezel insert, as you can see from the reflections in the video. And then they've also changed the bezel design itself, the grip on the bezel. So those are the four major points that they've actually really changed about the Turtle. And this is what nominates it to be the King Turtle, because it's upgraded all the parts that normally you would upgrade if you were modding a Seiko Turtle anyway. So let's touch on a few of the things that they've done differently. Now, I've never owned a Seiko Turtle. I've seen plenty of them, and I've seen plenty of them come in the workshop, but I've never actually owned one myself. I've owned plenty of other Seiko divers, but never a turtle. So when I saw this and it came with the specs of a sapphire glass and a ceramic bezel, I thought, well, that's just one I have to get, and I have not been disappointed. So the overall design of the Turtle is well known, and it is a very comfortable watch. I've heard lots of reviews saying that the Seiko Turtle is a very comfortable diver, and that is without question absolutely true. It's a very comfortable fitting watch, no doubt whatsoever. The original Seiko diver started off with a 6000 series caliber movement, but this actual Seiko Turtle comes with a Seiko 4R36, which is fully automatic, but you can also manually wind it and hack the seconds as well, and it comes with a day-date complication to boot. So it has pretty much everything you really need in a watch. And I've checked it on the time graph for when it arrived, and timekeeping is actually pretty good and fairly normal for a Seiko watch, and it's kept time perfectly well ever since. So the first thing we're going to touch on, if we can get a good look, is the dial. Now, I've seen a couple of reviews on the dial on this watch, and some people call it a waffle dial, and some people would call it a grenade dial. I'll definitely more on the side of it being a waffle dial, but you can call it a waffle dial or a grenade dial, that's entirely up to you. But I really like the pattern. It's something very different from the plain flat black finish that they normally do on a lot of their dials. The indices have a look like they're applied on top, but I think these are just punched out and then loom filled. But either way, the indices do stand above the dial. Don't know if you can really get a look, it's really hard to hold it steady. But the indices are really cool. You might not be able to make out on the video, but they're actually brushed from top to bottom, like a steel brush finish on the indices, which is nice, but you're only really going to notice that when you're really up close. And obviously the loom on a Seiko diver is going to be absolutely tip top. I'll try and do a loom shot at the end if I can. And the other nice thing they've done on the dial is The diver's 200 meters is done in like a goldy bronze color, along with the long tip of the seconds hand, which is also nice. It breaks up, only subtle, but that subtle difference in color is very noticeable. So the dial is really cool, the waffle pattern, so to speak. Moving outwards from there, we look at the Sapphire Crystal. Everybody likes a Sapphire Crystal in a watch. There's no exception for me either. And the magnified date window is really cool, really helpful. Some people are going to like it, some people are going to hate it. I actually quite like it. I think it's really cool. And as you get older and your eyesight starts to dwindle, you kind of need every help you can get. So that magnification is really helpful. Obviously not at the moment, because the minute hand is covering the date, which isn't helpful for a video, but there we go. And then moving out from that, we have the new Bezel Design with a ceramic bezel, and that was an absolute must for me. As much as I love Seikos, and I've owned quite a few Seikos and Pulsar divers watches that have the aluminium bezel, which is all great and well when they're new, but as they start to wear down and fade, I mean, okay, the faded look on a diver's watch is actually quite nice, but I don't want the bezel to fade ever. So the introduction of a ceramic bezel on this watch, I think, is really good. Plus, it looks absolutely cool. Nice shiny ceramic bezel. And the bezel grip itself, I actually really like the new bezel grip compared to the previous grip that they used to use on these watches. I found with the older one, if your hands were slightly moist or sweaty, you would slide on the grip, but the grip on this is really good. 120 click unidirectional bezel. It's really smooth, and if anything, I think this has actually improved a little bit over time. And this one does line up, if I can turn it correctly and line it up properly. So it does line up really well. That's often quite a concern with a lot of Seiko watches, is everything lining up, but on this particular model I've not had a problem. It all lines up really great. So you've got the screw down crown, sapphire crystal, ceramic bezel, the waffle pattern dial, the contrasting colour of the seconds hand and the text at 6 o'clock. You have a magnification window, and of course you have the fabulous Seiko turtle case design, which is a really comfortable fit. And then moving on to the bracelet. The bracelet is a fairly generic Seiko bracelet. Again, very comfortable, doesn't pinch the skin, comes with a small diver's extension, which is a bit, on a brand new watch, it's a bit tricky to, oh no, it came out. So it has a small diver's extension there. The only letdown for the watch, given the price point, is the fact that it does come with a pressed metal clasp. I would have liked to have seen a higher quality machined clasp, but having used these clasps for well over 20 years, so if I can get the diver's extension back in, there we go. Having used these clasps for a very long time, although they seem quite cheap, they're actually very robust and they last a very long time. But given the price of the watch, I would have liked to have seen a machined clasp instead. There was a there was a Citizen Diver watch that I had not so long ago, and you can still buy it now, and that was priced around the £300 price mark here in the UK. And when that arrived, that actually came with a fully machined, really nice clasp, solid end links, the whole thing. That was a really nice watch. So I know it's doable within their price point. But for some reason, Seiko have opted to just use the same old generic bracelet style, which is a bit of a shame, to go to all the effort of doing all the other things to upgrade the watch, get rid of my fingerprints, is they've not thought about the clasp. And the one thing that Seiko have done recently is they've really listened and seen what people do with Seikos and what people want with Seiko watches, and they've released so many new models that are much more desirable than they've ever been. And again, this is just one of the watches that they do that are much more desirable today than ever before. So they do 3 variations on this watch. They do this one on a steel bracelet, They do one with what's called a green dial. It's a very dark olive green type dial. I've not seen that one, and I think they do one that's a blue dial, a Save the Ocean dial as well. But I got this one because I really like bracelets. I find bracelets more comfortable than rubber straps. And you can't really go wrong with black. A bit like a little classic little black dress. It's a classic colour. You can't go wrong with it. But overall, if you're thinking about buying this watch, I wouldn't hesitate. It's really great. The new editions are absolutely superb, worth every penny. So let's see if we can get a Loom Shot. I have to charge the watch up and turn the light off. The pip at 12 o'clock is also loomed. Don't know if this is really going to come up in the video. So turn the light off. Not the best Loom Shot in the world, but rest assured, at night the Loom is absolutely superb. But this camera doesn't really pick up Loom very well. But as you would expect with any Seiko watch, the Loom is really, really good. So there we have it, the Seiko King Turtle, a title I think that is well deserved. So if you're on the fence about getting one of these, don't be. Get off the fence, get that order in, and get one of these watches. It's really great. Now I actually have a new strap, or a new bracelet coming for this watch, which I've ordered, which is more of a Jubilee styled bracelet, because I've seen a turtle on a Jubilee and it looks really good. So when that strap comes in, I'll probably do an update video to show you what that strap's like on this particular turtle, and I think it'll be the absolute perfect little watch then. But until then, take care and have some fun.